Hello, everybody. It's time. It's time. It's time to unbox and review an indie comic. What could it be? What could it be? Ooh, a little poster. Oh, I think... Do I know what this is? Yep, it's Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy. All right. So cool poster of that. And then let's see which issues. I got the Steel Cowboy, issue 1. So I think I've already reviewed issue 1, but this is like a variant cover. Issue 2, this is Jack. I think I've reviewed this one as well. And issue 3 will be the new one for me. All right, let's review it. All right, just read issue 3. So real quick, I'll give you like a recap of issue 1 and 2. Issue 1 is kind of like a nice little intro story that just shows Jack Irons at a bar telling his stories, and he has to deal with a bad guy robot bounty hunter that shows up. Very Samurai Jack-esque opening story. Issue 2 delves a little bit more into the world of Jack Irons. He kind of tells the story of how the world fell into a post-apocalyptic nightmare. There are like 4 figures or tyrants kind of representing the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And then after that, Jack says, now I'm an immortal, so you're probably wondering what I was doing this whole time. And he admits that he was starting to drink, he was falling into despair, and now he's kind of bounced back. But basically the entire world's gone to crap around him. So it doesn't matter if you're an immortal badass, if all the nations of the world are at war with each other. I believe I had like a kind of like comic chat with Cody Fernandez and some other people about issue 2. And I think one of the things I said back then is I thought, man, it was a lot of world building. I wonder where it's going. And now that I've read issue 3, I actually kind of like went back and reread issue 2, and I'm much happier with it now. Like I might have had like some constructive criticism back then about the world building, but looking back on it, actually issue 2 has a great balance where there is world building for the first half of it, and the second half is Jack goes and saves a little kid named Sarah because he feels bad for little kids. He's a very compassionate character, and he kind of does like that cool, like Clint Eastwood or Sam Spade, internal monologue and spinning yarn. Spinning yarn is kind of a Western thing going. Now, issue 2 ends with a cliffhanger where we see a mysterious figure, and it's heavily implied that, like Jack, this Native American guy might also be an immortal badass. So issue 3 has a lot happening in it. We see Jack fighting Makia Trucent, his old immortal friend, and they've known each other through the generations. But now Makia's kind of like ticked off at Jack. So there's like a cool fight between the two of them. Cody develops the subplot of Jack's compassion for Sarah, and he also kind of develops the relationship between Jack and Kitty, who's kind of like a tough lady who is in charge of one of the surviving towns left over in the apocalypse. It's implied that the evil tyrants and mega corporations have some power and have some laws, but maybe they can't enforce it everywhere because of just like how much chaos there is and how hard it is to survive in this post-apocalypse. So technically they're supposed to be following the laws, but to survive, people out in the outskirts do what they got to do to survive. And there's also like a really nice balance where he once had like a father-daughter sort of relationship with Kitty when she was a little girl growing up. Now he's starting to feel like a sort of paternal desire to protect Sarah, but he always has to go out and do his business. So it's like this classic human thing where, a man has to go out and bring home the bacon. He has to go out and take care of mean business and help people survive, basically, which means he can't just stay around and be stay-at-home dad all the time. He just wants to help these people be safe and then keep going on with his work, even though he's tired. So it makes some tension. Like Kitty maybe has some like unresolved feelings of conflict where maybe she wishes that Jack could have been more of a father to her, but he didn't have the opportunity to do that because of the way his life is going. It's tough because we feel for Jack because he is a very compassionate man, but he also maybe has like a higher burden that he has to keep up with. There's also some like really cool world building stuff, like all the robotics having sort of like sentient life, possibly, and some of the different alien races having their own technology or their own ways of surviving in this post-apocalypse. And lots of like great, dusty scenes of Jack riding across the sunset with the billowing smoke. If you like Samurai Jack or Cowboy Bebop, I think you're going to really dig kind of like the stylish presentation of this. One constructive criticism, I kind of wish the wording was a tiny bit bigger in places, and it often looks like a lot of space has been left for lettering. That'd probably be a note for a letter, but I wouldn't mind if the font size was maybe like 1 or 2 sizes up. And I actually didn't show you too much of Makia True Sense. So there's this nice, flashback aspect to it, where there's the present, where there's alien technology and all that kind of cool futuristic stuff, and there's the past, where they actually met as like friends out in the wilderness. It's such a great classic idea. The cowboy and the Indian, the Lone Ranger and Tonto. It fits really well, and there's this nice aspect where they were kind of like the best buddies going on adventures ever, but Makia eventually kind of reached the point where he was becoming so bitter with the world. He was willing to become a lot more violent in his way of dealing with the world than Jack Irons was willing to, so they had a parting of ways eventually. And it seems like bitter feelings have grown on Makia's part in the meantime, whereas Jack Irons still thinks well of him and still thinks of him as a friend. So that's really interesting. I really like the combination of old and new. It's a futuristic world with aliens and the post-apocalypse and the Four Horsemen and evil corporations and advanced technology, but there's also like this really kind of like looking back and looking forward aspect to it, where there's still survival in the wilderness. There's still, honor and virtue and caring for the people who can't care for themselves. So I really dig it. Jack Irons is one of my favorite indie comics that I've been reading. It has like a great... Jack Irons has a voice. Finding a voice for a character, it's kind of like you have to make what they say fit with who they are. And so for Jack Irons, he spins yarns. He'll tell you about the old days when I was out in the West tracking down bears and things like that. So it really fits with him to have that tone of voice and to kind of like talk about his life and his experiences that way. He's the guy you share a drink with, and if you buy him a drink, he'll tell you a tale of his time back in the Civil War. That kind of a thing. So it's a really good comic. Jack Irons and the team behind it deserve your support. And I'd highly recommend it. Great for fans of Samurai Jack, great for fans of Cowboy Bebop, great for fans of any kind of like cool Western or sci-fi or a really unique mashup of the two of them. And I'm really interested to see where it goes. 3 great self-contained stories. With that, I'm number one Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. Catch you later.